Hey, Sassy Stuff. I'm Emma,
I'm Blythe.
and we're here to talk to you about all things college football. Let's get to it. All right, Blythe. The rankings came out last night, and a lot of people were shocked at where Miami fell, at where South Carolina fell, and especially where Bama fell at number 11. But we do have a game coming up this weekend that might shake those rankings up even more. So let's talk about this.
Yes, so Clemson will be traveling to Charlotte to take on SMU. On one side of the football, this is one of the most winningest programs in the conference recent history. And on the other sideline, we're going to have SMU, who just joined the ACC this year. Clemson has the most wins and appearances out of every team in the ACC. So I am really looking forward to these two teams meeting. I think one of the biggest things to get Klubnik moving. We have been relying heavily on him, not only in the passing game these past couple weeks, but also in his running game. And, due to the struggles like you just talked about with Phil Maffa, he has been hurt. He's been a little shaky, a little off balance. We are going to definitely need Kate Klubnik to be strong with the rushing offense this week. And I expect a big game from him. I mean, there's a lot on the line. Obviously, you win this, you're in the playoff. Despite what happened last week, despite the loss to Louisville, you're in. Win and you are in. I think this is a big moment for him to capitalize from what happened last week and to finish stronger on a more positive note this weekend. Also, stopping the run. Stopping the run has been a major issue for the Clemson defense. Like we saw last week with South Carolina, they have got to get better at controlling the line of scrimmage. In recent weeks, teams have been going for over 200 yards rushing against them. And obviously, that's going to wear down the defense late in the game, as we saw last week. So I think also the keys for SMU is definitely going to be their secondary. That's their weakest point. And they'll face, arguably probably the best challenge that they have this year. This offense, Clemson's offense, averages 275.1 yards. And, Cade has passed for over 3,000 yards and 29 touchdowns this year, both career highs. Wide receiver Antonio Williams, that's going to be a star they're going to have to look out for. Also, true freshman Bryant Wesco. So that is going to be one area that's going to be a big challenge for them. But like I talked about, their road success, they have been one of the nation's best road teams, winning 10 consecutive games, the longest active streak. And, most of their games from here on out will obviously be neutral sites. And obviously, this might really feel like a home game for Clemson and not a neutral site since it is right down the road and Clemson fans know Charlotte very well. But they haven't lost a road game all year. So they're obviously used to big crowds in the postseason. They had to play Tulane last year, New Orleans. They played Boston College at the Fenway Bowl. So they are used to road atmospheres. But I think what will be interesting is experience-wise. Clemson has played in big games like this. They know what the pressure's like. They've been in these championship kind of moments. So will that persevere over a team that hasn't had that kind of moment yet? So I think that's going to be one interesting thing for me is just seeing how they handle that pressure, the big moment of it all. You're new to the ACC. We've never faced each other. So this is going to be really interesting. And I'm excited to play someone different that we're not used to seeing all the time.
Yeah, like you said, you have Dabo Sweeney. Dabo Sweeney's been to national championships. He's won national championships. He knows what these moments mean, and he'll know how to anchor his team into what they need to do to get the job done on Saturday. With SMU, another key factors I'm looking at is SMU went 5-0 against common opponents. They outscored them significantly, whereas Clemson went 4-1, and they really do struggle against the spread. And SMU does have a defensive edge, especially against the run. So that right there could be a deciding factor for who's going to take away this game. But I think for the SEC, you're kind of looking at who is winning this game as well, because if SMU wins, then okay, you got 4 teams in the playoffs. But if Clemson wins, then it asks a question. It begs a question: should Alabama stay in the playoffs, or should SMU take that spot? And I think there are um, points on both sides to be made of why they should or why they shouldn't. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, we talked about this earlier. Twitter is absolutely going insane right now between Lane Kiffin, Twitter coaches, who we all know, dad's probably behind the screen, random college football accounts. Twitter absolutely blew up last night. It had me laughing. It had me almost crying from people. Like, the emotions are insane right now. I see really both sides of this argument. I guess the main thing I look at is Alabama was absolutely blown out by Oklahoma. Obviously, their worst loss and performance of the entire year. I mean, Oklahoma was ranked 94th in offense, but Miami loses by 4 points on the road to a 9-3 Syracuse team, and Bama gets in. So I don't know. I see both sides. I definitely think if Clemson wins, it's definitely going to shake up the bubble teams. I think SMU would still stay somewhat where they are. But it just makes you wonder, those ones that are on the cusp, or, number 12 Alabama, where do they move them, or do they? But I know there's, a lot of unhappy teams on here. I know one unhappy coach, and that is Lane Kiffin. So if you want a good laugh, viewers, go to Lane Kiffin Twitter. He is absolutely going off on his team, tweeting at the CFP Twitter handle. Like,
He's making a
does,
case for his team. He wants
does
his
not care.
internet.
Does not care. But then people in the comments are funny. They say, obviously, coach, you lost to Florida, Kentucky, and
Yeah.
you. So
That's my thing is like if you're 9-3, you have no leg to stand on. You should be grateful for your placement at this point. Is there a Bama bias? Of course, there's a Bama bias because they have a history, they have the ratings. Like, who wouldn't want to watch Alabama and Notre Dame play? Like those two amazing programs, and that's kind of how it's slated right now. So that's why I'm just like, yes, it's bad because of that, but you also look. Um, Ranked wins, Bama has 3, SMU has none. Strength of schedule, Alabama is 17, SMU is 75th. Opponents' records, Alabama's 92-52, whereas SMU 73-72. So they're winning across the board right there. Where they lose is SMU obviously made their conference game, and that's huge. And
yeah,
you shouldn't be punished
no,
for losing a conference game by any means. Obviously, in the Big Ten, you're not going to be punished. In the SEC, you're not going to be punished. The Big 12 is its own entity, but with these teams in the ACC, it's a little bit criminal to
mhm,
punish them in that way.
yeah,
You and I were talking earlier. There has to be a different ranking
yeah,
system in place because they kind of just pick and choose what they're going to use at any given time. It should kind of be more like a basketball ranking to really figure out who the 12 best teams are. Because I love Boise State, but Boise State is not better than Ole Miss.
yeah,
They might be on one day. Of
yeah,
course, any team can like NIU is better than Notre Dame on that one day, and that's amazing. They played harder, and any team can do that.
mhm,
But every team wants to win. Everybody is passionate. You can't say they wanted it more. No, everybody wants it. So it's just like on paper, the 12 best teams are not going to be in the 12-team playoff. So we just have to get over that fact. And
yeah,
then so the CFP is now looking at, well, if we can't have like the Miami, we can throw Alabama in there. We have a place for now Alabama who's gonna bring a name. So then we have a Boise State game, but we have Alabama Notre Dame. That's a matchup right there. So at the end of the day, this is a TV show. It's about money. Bama has more clout, and I'm not saying that they've obviously done a lot to deserve it. Their ceiling when it's high, it's as good as any team out there, but they have a much lower floor. And I know everybody's been saying that. And when you see that floor, like in the Oklahoma game, it's not pretty. It's not. And I think you can also look at it and be like, yeah, that Ryan Williams call was horrendous, and that should never have happened. And you would be crazy to think that that wouldn't give them the momentum. They had plenty of time on the clock to go back and win that game if that touchdown would have counted. So they could have won that game if there wasn't that horrendous call, but you could say that about 1,000 different games across the board. And that one call, like in the South Carolina LSU game, that one call
Yep.
probably prevented them from making the playoffs. We
Yep.
don't know. We'll never know. But you can look at these calls all day long, but they looked at it for Bama. And
Yep.
is that right? No, but head to head has to mean something. And
Yep.
Bama did beat South Carolina. So that's the argument dead there. Ole Miss did beat South Carolina. I know the Gamecocks weren't happy about that.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it is what it is. The SMU debate is a little, I don't know. I'm kind of half and half on who would actually get in, because you look at last year with Florida State,
Yeah.
that didn't happen. I honestly think the CFP's looking back at that Georgia TCU game and they said, no, we
Yeah.
will not have that again. Like,
Yeah.
granted, with a 12-team playoff, I don't think you'd ever get that again. It would weed out eventually, but I think that's scarred them for a very
I
long
think so
time
too.
instead of putting Bama in. But I don't know. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be really interesting to see how they decide.
Yeah, it is because, like we talked about, I mean, are they looking at strength of schedule? Are they looking at head to head? Are they looking at style points? What are you looking at? Because it's really not clear on all cylinders if everyone's voting the same, or is it different, or is it you're looking at a little of both? Because the four teams that are in debate right now for that last spot is Miami, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Bama. And like we talked about, Bama has the brand, they have the experience, they are Alabama. End of story. Ole Miss has the best wins. South Carolina is the hottest team, but Miami has the best record. So how are you judging it? Where are you pulling from? I mean, there's an argument to be said for all four of these teams. So it's just,
It's hard.
it
And
is hard.
they're honestly kind of judging every team differently too, because Bama at their best is as good as anybody.
Yeah,
Bama at their worst should not even be ranked.
yeah,
So I don't know what they're looking at there. They're probably looking at obviously strength of schedule and their notable wins, which I know nobody's gonna say Missouri, but they ranked Missouri higher than I thought they were going to. And so Missouri, that's a nice ranked win right there. You have South Carolina win, you have the Georgia win. So
yeah,
they have enough on their resume to say, yes, we have a case. But so does Miami. They say, oh, these 3 loss teams, we're a 2 loss team. That's easy. That's easy. So, and then South Carolina, obviously they are killing it right now.
yeah,
And like, it breaks my heart for them because I want them in it. I think South Carolina would be phenomenal in the playoffs. And Shane Beamer is like, nobody wants to play us. I don't want to play South Carolina now. I liked when I played South Carolina.
yeah,
So it's scary. And then Ole Miss, I mean, Ole Miss, I love that team. They just messed up a few times and it's sad, but that is a strong, strong team. So like you said, there can be a case made about any of these teams. I'm sad 3 of them will be left out. We're going to be looking at SMU too. What if SMU gets left out and Clemson gets the nod from the ACC? It's kind of not, I don't know. I'm not going to love it for SMU in the ACC conference because it's just not right in a way, but what is right? I don't know. So we don't know what they're thinking. And I know they were talking about it and they said, well, we don't have anything else to judge the people who are not playing in these championship games. So they're kind of locked in. I'm
yeah,
like, what does that mean? Does that mean like you don't care if SMU loses, they're out then?
yeah,
So it's going to be really interesting. And I mean, somebody's going to be really happy and somebody's going to be really unhappy, just like
yeah.
last year with Florida State. Um, and they're going to use this year to figure out how to move forward in the years to come. So I don't know. It's going to be crazy.
The thing is someone's always going to get left out. So
Yeah.
it's important to win each week. I think the 12-team playoff is just it's taken off the pressure and the importance of having to win each week. I mean, remember when it was the 4-team playoff? It was do or die. Like
Yeah.
you did not lose. You have no choice but to win. And I just think it's just I don't know. It's taking the pressure off. It's just oh well. We got one loss. It's all right. They have three. They're still in. I mean, it's not the same. The importance of it is just gone. I mean, I personally was never a fan of the 12-team playoff. I've told you that. We've talked about this from the beginning. I don't know what the number needs to be, but it doesn't need to be 12. I know
Probably
that.
like 16. I
Yeah.
don't know. Eh, it's a mess.
Because, I mean, 'cause
It's
if
a
you're
mess.
thinking about SMU, I mean, they've done the work. They've won the game. So if they do lose Saturday night, I do think they still should be in. And honestly, I mean, you should feel pretty good if you are them and you do lose because I just feel like you still have to put them in. Like they've still earned the right to be there. They have not lost. So, I mean, I don't see how you don't put them in
I don't know.
because I mean, if this were the other way around, let's say in the SEC, they would be in.
Yes.
So what is the bias? Like, I get it, but this,
I mean, the biggest thing that stands out for me is strength of schedule.
yeah,
So, I don't know. It's hard. Someone's gonna be
yes,
left out. Either team has a perfect case to say why they should be in there. I know Greg Burns, Alabama's athletic director, literally sent the CFP list and was like, "This is why we should be in." Um, so it's going to be interesting for sure. Honestly, if SMU wins, which I'm picking them to win, there's no question. It's done. So it's really just if Clemson can really pull out that win. So I'm assuming you're picking Clemson.
I am. I think they bounce
Yeah.
back from this. I do. They play great in Charlotte. I will never bet against them. Obviously, they took the last week's loss pretty hard. I'm sure they've worked on everything, and I mean, they've been in these moments. I mean, you know what you have to do. You win, and you're in, and you can still control your own destiny. I mean, everything kind of starts over now. When you're locked in, you know everybody's kind of at an even slate.
Yep.
And so, I mean, you just got to do your job. Just win, and the rest will take care of itself. I mean, anything can happen when you get into those playoff games. I mean, who's going to be the healthiest team? Who's going to be the team that doesn't run out of gas? Who keeps the mindset? Who keeps the positive mindset for a couple more weeks? I mean, this is a long season now that we've added this 12-team playoff. I mean, it's extra weeks of football, like mentally being strong enough to get through this. So, I mean, that all plays a factor into it. And I think what'll be interesting too is having these neutral sites for these playoff games and being able to host at your field. I mean, that I love about this. I think that is awesome. I think that is how it should be when you've earned the right to play in this and to sit where you're sitting in the ranks. I love that about it. So that's going to be really cool. And especially if you get to play a team that you don't always get to play, and you get to travel there, and that'll be interesting. And we're
I
gonna
know, I
have
love
some.
that for the students too. I wish
Yes,
we had that when we were at school
yes,
and got to
yeah.
see our team in a playoff game at home. That would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome.
However, I'm a fan of the four team
Yeah, I
model much
think
better than the 12, maybe 16. Well,
yeah,
we have to live through the 12. Let's give the 12 a chance.
yes. Let's give it a
But
try.
right now we're missing our 4-team model because it would have just been so easy.
Yes, it would have been so easy. But,
Um,
hopefully they get it right. I would
yeah,
not want to be on
we
this
just want
field.
good playoff.
Yes,
People's feelings are gonna get hurt, but we just want good football games. I don't want any of these to be blowouts. I want them to all be close, nail biters. I want to be entertained, like
yeah,
Gladiator 2.
yeah. I mean, it's already been wild. I mean, there's already transfer portal announcements that have been happening all day
I
long.
know,
I mean,
it's
it's
crazy.
just crazy. And I don't know. I just hope college football doesn't lose its touch because I don't like to see that. I don't. I don't like to see when um, athletes sit out of bowl games either. I feel like if you're committing to a team, you're committing to a coach, or you are committing to stay and play. And I just hate to see that. So I really hope that college football doesn't change too much on us for the next couple of years.
I hope not. But regardless, we're here and we're going to talk about it. And we're excited for what's going to happen with the championships this weekend, good and bad and ugly and all of the above. And we're going to see how it shakes up when the CFP's rankings come out at noon on Sunday. So we're excited. I hope you're excited. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know who you're cheering for in all of these championship games across the board, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.